Hey everyone, welcome back to Small Batch Devs. My name is Austin.
And I'm Elliot. Today we're taking a look at JavaScript error handling and why you should be using it.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will definitely help us out a lot. But without any further ado, let's jump into it.
Properly handling errors in your web application can mean the difference between your users seeing an error code or a blank page and not being able to access your service, or users being able to use a set of functionality that is your default application.
Sometimes devs will overlook this paradigm because they'll test the code until it works the way they want it to or the happy path, but they won't continue testing their code and ensure that the errors that may come up in their code are handled correctly, or a sad path.
Most of the errors that will end up taking your site down aren't ones that you plan for.
The two main ways of handling errors in your web application include the try-catch and also the asynchronous catch method.
So let's cover the try-catch method first.
With a try-catch method, the code in the try portion of the block will attempt to run, and if an error occurs here or an exception occurs here, then you'll immediately be kicked to the catch portion so that you can handle this error in any fashion that you want.
What's great about the try-catch method or the try-catch block is that it will catch any errors no matter how far nested they are inside methods and other functionality, as long as it's inside the try block.
When handling asynchronous errors, you'll typically be using a asynchronous class like a promise or an observable, which actually have their own error handling built in the form of a catch statement.
The catch method for both promises and observables will catch any error that occurs in the asynchronous chain above where the catch is placed. So if you have 3 then statements for a promise and those are followed by a catch, the catch will handle any errors in any of those 3 then statements above it.
However, if you have 3 then methods and then your catch statement followed by another then method, then if an error occurs in that final then method, it will not be caught in your catch statement.
A good technique to start off with is writing some default code such that if your app failed in certain places, the default code would still be able to run.
Then you can ensure that all non-default code has proper error handling so that if an error does occur, it can use the default code that you have set in place.
So you can start by wrapping all non-default code in one giant try-catch.
And then you can refine it so that smaller pieces of code are wrapped in their own try-catches, so that if one piece of code fails, it doesn't necessarily affect the other try-catches that need to run. Or the default code for that matter, as long as one piece of code that is not dependent on code that precedes it to run successfully, you should be good.
A great example of this is if you have some server-side code in, say, an AWS Lambda or a Firebase Cloud function that does server-side handling of your app routing.
Let's say this function checks if the request is for the sitemap or the robots file for your website. And if it isn't for either of those, it defaults to a route in your application.
You're going to want to ensure that no matter what, your users can at least get to your application. The sitemap and robots are secondary priorities.
So a good idea would be to wrap the sitemap request in a try-catch block and also the robots file request in its own try-catch block. So if either of those threw an error, your users will still be able to get to your app if they were trying to do so.
Another thing to keep in mind is that if an error does occur and code is waiting for a value from the failed code, you should return a default value so that other parts of your code don't error as well.
This means you'll have to handle those edge cases in other portions of your code as well, but at least your bases will be covered and your app will run more predictably.
So you could return a default string or a default value or even null, so you can handle those scenarios wherever your code is expecting that value.
Another thing you can do is create a global error handlers that will catch errors that aren't specifically tied to a more refined try-catch or error handler piece of code that you have written.
This can be a double-edged sword though, as you'll catch all the errors that occur and your application won't crash, but it'll be really hard to track down where those errors are coming from as you'll have changed what the stack trace is going to output.
Especially if it's a logical error that you need to fix during the development of functionality. You might actually want your app to crash at this time so that you can fix the error before you're actually pushing out these changes into a real environment.
When you do handle errors in your code, you should write a custom log message that details exactly what is happening and where it's happening in your code so that you can find it and fix it faster.
And this is important because most of the time you won't be able to reliably find bugs in your code in a production environment because most likely your code is minified and it's a little more difficult to debug.
Yeah, and when that happens, the stack trace that's given to you won't be very easy to read or find exactly what line of code you're looking for. So custom log messages are very important when handling errors. So today we covered the importance of error handling in your web applications, and we also gave you two main ways of handling errors using the try catch block and the asynchronous catch methods.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Maybe also drop us a comment down below what you thought of the episode. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to also check out our social media that includes Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at smallbatchdevs. We also have a blog in which we turn these YouTube tutorials into a blog format. That's smallbatchdevs.com. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
If you enjoy this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We would very much appreciate it. I just smacked my microphone.
Yeah, definitely heard that.
This means you'll have to...
Sorry.